he's troubled, and I'm hoping he does get the help he needs.
Our top story here at noon is the breaking news we've been covering since early this morning in Camas, where Clark County Sheriff's deputy shot a man, sending him to the hospital. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Drew Carney. The sheriff's office told us no other people were hurt during that shooting. Thomas Schultz continues to cover this story for us. He joins us live in Camas. So Thomas, I know you were able to speak to someone who lives in the neighborhood where this happened.
Yeah, Drew, that neighbor you just heard from, we spoke to earlier today, and she was clearly shaken up. And as you can imagine, it was a restless night for her and her family.
I was sitting in my living room, and next thing I heard a shot.
Around 9:45 Wednesday night, Ashley Valenzuela, her husband, and 4 kids were jolted from a restful night by the sound of gunshots.
My kids thought fireworks. I said, no, that's not fireworks.
Just a couple houses down, the Clark County Sheriff's Office says shots were fired. For the next half hour, gunfire continued.
Probably not even 5 minutes later, I heard a second one. 5 minutes after that, we heard a third one.
4 law enforcement agencies responded and say a man was outside this home who wasn't supposed to be there. Deputies believe the man had a restraining order placed against him, preventing him from visiting this home or owning guns.
It was a little bit chaotic.
Using an armored vehicle, law enforcement approached him, hoping to talk. That's when they say the shooting took place.
I know the husband or ex-husband was a little bit troubled.
Police have not confirmed the man's relation to the home. We do know a Clark County deputy shot him, and then he was taken to the hospital.
Obviously, this is a very dynamic situation, and it's going to be ongoing. It's going to be a while before we can put all the pieces together.
And to neighbors like Valenzuela, something like this happening so close to home is shocking.
Like I said, I've lived here for my whole life, and this isn't Camas.
Just kind of devastating there, and there's still a lot we don't know about this. We don't know the man's name who was shot. We also don't know exactly what led up to this shooting. Now, we will get further clarification once body camera footage is released. The Washington State Patrol says they don't know when that's going to be released just yet either. Now, as for the deputy who did fire their gun, they've been placed on paid administrative leave. That's standard protocol in situations like this one. Drew?
All right, Thomas Schultz live for us this afternoon in St. Helens. Thomas in Vancouver this afternoon for us. This is the scene in St. Helens this afternoon. Student and parent-led protest happening there for the past several hours, as a matter of fact, calling for the entire school board in St. Helens to step down. That's because earlier this week, a current and a former teacher at St. Helens High School were both arrested and charged with sexually abusing students. Parents and other community members say district leaders failed to protect students. We also just learned that because of today's protest, classes at the high school are canceled for the rest of today and again tomorrow. Ashley Grams is covering this story for us. So, Ashley, we know you've been live in St. Helens now for the past several hours. How do things look at this point?
Yeah, Drew, it was just about an hour ago when we started hearing from students that classes had been canceled. Right around that time, these protesters moved from their spot in front of the school about a block away to this intersection where we're standing now here. This is the intersection of Highway 30 and Gable. That's where they held up their signs, and you can hear as cars drive through honking in support of these students and these parents. Now, we're going on hour 4 of this protest. It started around 8 a.m. this morning. We'll show you some of that video from this morning. You can see cars driving through honking as these students held up those signs in the rain. Many of the signs they're holding criticize school district leadership, saying they don't feel safe knowing 2 teachers who are now charged with sex abuse worked at their school. Here's what one parent and her student had to say.
I think everybody, the superintendent needs to be fired. The school district, they need a whole new school district. Dr. Wagner needs to be fired. These kids need to be safe in this town, and they're not in this school at all.
Just to show that it's not right to have predators be at our school and be able to be here for 2 months.
We do know one of those men who was arrested was currently teaching students. The other one had retired. Now, later this afternoon, we are talking with St. Helens Police to learn more about this investigation and what led up to the arrest of these 2 teachers. More on that this afternoon at 4. Drew?
All right, Ashley Graham's reporting live for us there this afternoon in St. Helens. Next stop here at noon, Albany, where school was canceled again today, and there won't be any school there tomorrow either. That's because of the ongoing teacher strike in Albany. The Greater Albany School District says a state mediator is involved at this point, and the district was scheduled to continue negotiations with the teachers union today. Teachers' demands, we know, include better pay and smaller class sizes. The district has already said that progress has been made on the issue of pay, but added it cannot afford to meet teachers' demands when it comes to class sizes. All right, quick break from all the headlines here this afternoon for this live look outside at the tree that now occupies Pioneer Courthouse Square. Rod, you were talking earlier this morning. The tree doesn't look as impressive as it will here in a couple of weeks when they add back all the branches and throw on the lights. Yes, the holiday season just about here.
It's crazy that if you don't know, they basically take some of the branches off. They kind of disassemble a live tree, if you will, or after they've cut it down. And then they put the branches and fill them back in as part of the process once the tree is up. All that going on down at the square. Hey, we are finally quieting down from that rough morning. Earlier this morning, winds were gusting 30, 35, 37 miles per hour. We had heavy rain pockets in many areas. But right now, these are the sustained wind speeds, generally to about 10. And at most, gusts are being reported to about 20. There's still, you'll feel the air moving, but this is not the wind we had yesterday. This is not the wind that we had this morning. So good news there. We still have quite a few showers overall on radar here in the west part of Oregon and up into Washington. But if you look, a lot of these showers are kind of fading as they come over the coast range. So it's actually been quite dry over the past couple of hours in Salem and up into Portland. And we have some sun breaks at the coast. Here's Chinook Casino Resort in Lincoln City. Here's the Gorge, some wet pavement from showers at Cathedral Ridge Winery, but also some sun, and there's some sun in Portland. So things are improving for the remainder of your afternoon. 53 right now, steady temperatures, scattered showers continue to be possible, but we're starting to mix in more and more dry time. The forecast into the weekend, we're tracking another front, another big rainmaker. That's in my 7-day forecast.
All right, that's coming up, Rod, in about 8 minutes. Right now, we want to get back to some of our local headlines this afternoon, starting with the trial that's underway this week in Washington County in the case of a 13-year-old who was sexually assaulted and murdered 2 years ago. The body of Melanie Lee, a sixth grader in Beaverton, was found in a creek in May of 2022. The suspect in her murder, Daniel Gore, was only 16 at the time, but he is being tried as an adult. In opening statements yesterday, his defense claimed the two had a sexual relationship and said unidentified male DNA found on Lee points to a different killer. This trial is expected to last at least 2 weeks. That's a man breaking into a tattoo shop in Gresham a couple of weeks ago. The owners of Equinox Tattoo are asking for help to try and identify that man. The break-in happened the day before Halloween. The suspect took tattoo supplies like ink and needles, but the owners told us what they were most surprised by was what he didn't take.
Computers, iPads, a projector, a brand new Xbox, the point of sale system, like collectible toys all over the place.
Gresham police suspended this case because they say they don't have any leads. There is a GoFundMe, though, set up for Equinox Tattoo. You can find a link to that fundraiser in the online version of this story at KGW.com. The FBI, meanwhile, now offering a $25,000 reward for any information that leads to the arrest of the person who set 3 ballot boxes on fire in Oregon and Washington just before the election. Newly released video shows the suspected arsonist dropping something into this box. So this box was set up on Southeast Morrison in Southeast Portland, and this video was taken back on October 28th. After the suspect drives away, you see a puff of smoke, and then a few moments later, that whole box erupts in a shower of sparks. So again, if you have any information about this, you're asked to call Portland Police. And in a case that dates back more than 10 years at this point, a Clackamas County judge declared this week that an ordinance banning public access to Oswego Lake in Lake Oswego through city-owned parks is illegal. She ordered the city to allow access through at least one public route, the one through Millennium Park Plaza. She also, though, found reason to restrict access through the 2 other access points.